Joyful, jubilant jacks! Hello everyone, and welcome to The Great Ace Attorney Part 34, where we hopefully can wrap up this trial once for all. And hopefully Soseki Natsume finally no longer has to see this courtroom again for real this time. Good morning to you two fellas. Herlock Sholmes! May I drink my stupid tea and fall forever be silent. I could have sworn I heard myself echo for a second. It had just been me. And with Sholmes you came. How wonderful. Please, save your derision. I know what you're all thinking. Good morning, he says. Well, it's very nearly time for luncheon. Your scorn is written clearly across your faces. Nobody said or thought anything of the sort. The truth is, I was determined that today would be the day. As sleep seduced me last night, I thought. Tomorrow, for once, I shall not oversleep. I'll rise early and be present in court to support my companions. Such spirited determination has beauty of all its own, and does it not? Oh yes! And then I began my muse on the subject. Why do people oversleep? I queried. Why, time after time, do they make the same foolish blunder? This answer came at me once. It's delightfully simple. People oversleep because they sleep! Genius! Oh, yes. Upon which realization, I attempted an experiment. I didn't sleep a wink at all at night. And as a result, in the first light, I was exhausted, and began to oscillate by my fits of drowsiness. Shocking. The conclusion of my last night's experiment is this. A good night's sleep is quite simply essential. Yes, I think most of us probably knew that already. What is purpose? That's my explanation. But guys, he just figured out. Oversleeping is caused by sleeping. Do you remember this? Yeah? Yes, of course. It's the poison that Miss Green was about to drink at the hospital yesterday. You did manage to. It was a laborious task, the bottle was near empty, as such inconveniences do not hinder Sholmes. I managed to confirm that it contained strychnine. So I was right. Perhaps, though of course, no circumstantial evidence doesn't prove Miss Green's guilt. I shall leave the ball in your care now. Bellicing inside the neck is not recommended. Of course. Whatever you say, Mr. Sholmes. Could I have a word? Well, absolutely, Gregson. How good for you to come. Forget it. Excuse me. Okay. I, don't wish to make a nuisance of myself. My dear Inspector, please. I pretend I'm not here. Believe me, if I could do that, life would be a whole lot easier for me. Not yet. I shouldn't be long now, though. No, I'm here at something else. The Dead Convict, actually. You mean the name from the newspaper article from Mr. Shamster's room? A man by the name of, yes, Selden. I went through his archives at the yard and dug out the fellow's file. There's something in it that, well, it caught my eye. Something caught your eye? Wait, Inspector, what? I've copied out the relevant parts for you, so you can read it for yourselves. Those documents... Let's see if they actually say it for us. Include the details that were in the newspaper cutting we found in Mr. Shamster's room. That's very good for you, actually. Why are you giving us a copy of this important file, though? Okay, they got rid of that information. Okay, died of natural causes. Let's make 1,000 pounds worth of loot uncovered. Well, you're the ones who turned up the clue in the first place, aren't you? I'm just making sure things get handled in the proper fashion. Scotland Yard's working are so wonderful. Indeed, my dear fellows, an inspector here is a shining diamond in its crown. Look, I just don't want to be beholden to a lawyer, that's all. Goodness for the defense, and the defendant. Time for the trial to resume. Well, I shall leave you then. I'll be listening within the interest from the public gallery. No dying off at all, carefully not. I'm rather tired of seeing Mr. Mustache in the floods of tears personally, so... The best of luck to you. Welcome, student Mr. Naruto. Yes, Mr. Natsume? It's time, isn't it? Yes, it's time to meet your end. Just kidding. Just going to be the final battle. I won't really have saved Soseki until I've exposed the whole truth of everything that's been going on. But it's all coming to a head now. You can do it, Ryunosuke. You have to. Ryunosuke. It's kind of tricky to pronounce. Alright. Everyone's resumed their leanings, surprisingly. In the name of Her Majesty, the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session again now. Before the recess, we heard a most startling accusation from the defense. Namely that the victim of the case we heard only a few days ago is the true perpetrator of this incident. A reckless, a rash, and prejudiced charge of wrongdoing, in my opinion, my lord. The prosecution has tried to extend every courtesy to this amateur newcomer from dubious eastern shores. Thank you for that backhanded consideration. A rather cold assessment from the whole honorable British prosecutor, I must say. Ben Zykes, the new witness present and ready to take the stand. Ready and waiting in the witnesses' antechamber, my lord. Very well. Balef, bring the witness in! Seriously, why is she painting in the courtroom? Can't she actually take this seriously? William Shakespeare, my liege. Alright, are we still playing Who Wants to Be a Lead? Who Wants to Be a Sham? And punish the shammiest of the law. I also want to check anything amiss here. So this is the poison we've been hearing so much about. Shine. There are a few remnants on the bottom of the bottle here. Look, wouldn't be tempted to try it. Of course not. As long as we don't lose this trial. Even if we lose this trial. Yeah, no. We wouldn't lose the trial in the first place, Mr. Naruto. Make your minds up to Sato. Alright. At least I got some nice joy out of that. That I be tragic victim, to be pitied, currently unemployed. In other words, I'm Olive Green. I'm a fledgling artist. Well, no. Not a fledgling, really. A hopeless failure who's weak-spirited to admit she has no talent. I suppose. Also currently unemployed. In other words, what a contrary. The Shakespeare. My lord, I am thy humble servant. I'm afraid that you are no longer merely the victim in this affair, but possibly has been raised that you are in fact the assailant intent on taking the life of your fellow lodger. The part of you who played in this whole business will be thoroughly scrutinized, I assure you. I would for naught else, my lord. And Miss Green. Yes? You are aware that the reason you have been summoned to the courtroom today, I presume? Yes, I am the officer to explain. He said I poisoned this ridiculous buffoon. I just realized she actually painted her paint stand. I don't know anything about any other poisoning. And I don't know anything about this man. Come, lady. Die to live. Verily, I know not thy prickly, pigmented personage. Very well. Let us proceed with the matter at hand. At beginning to ascertain whether or not Miss Green has any involvement in this affair. It's all very strange. Very strange indeed. Why would you would suspect me? I barely ever go to East End anyway. It so happens I passed that neighborhood 6 days ago, that's all. And on the night that this man was poisoned, I was still in the hospital, flying for my life. Yes, having been unfortunately caught by the incident in the street outside Mr. Garredeb's household. The Garredeb household. I can't exclude Mrs. Garredeb. The incident that you rendered unconscious for 3 days ago. I was struck in the middle of the back with a knife, though I'm no fault of my own, and now I'm under suspicion? What other irrelevant things might I be suspected of? It's all very disturbing. Your energies may be better spent not worrying about the random knife attacks I feel, Miss Green. At this point in time, I'll appear to connect with you and Mr. Shakespeare's lodgings, or in the Briar Road incident 6 days ago. That's why. We would like you to testify formally now about exactly what happened. The incident 6 days ago? You mean you want me to relieve that awful incident? Unfortunately, yes. Please tell the court what happened that day. And of course, we will be interested to hear from you about your movements that day too, Mr. Shamspear. But what happened 6 days ago is nothing to do with today me being poisoned. Let's proceed then. The witness will present their formal testimony to the court on the subject of the incident that took place on Briar Road that evening of the 17th of February. It was 6 days ago, at about 5 p.m. I was walking along the snow when I was suddenly stabbed in the back. Coincidentally, it happened to be just outside the... You're painting your cheek, you know. I was at the tavern of Eve which thou speakst, for I have bespoke my supper. It was the first time I've ever been in the area. I had a little matter to attend to, that's all. Anyway, I was admitted straight to hospital, so I knew nothing about all this business. Yes, a second incident inside a week of what believed to be aptly described as the haunted lodgings. One can only presume this is a most unfortunate coincidence. Meanwhile, you say that you were not in the room, Mr. Shamspear. 'Twas in the following morning, when I did awaken, that learned of the dire events. Mary, what commotion did the officers of law make for the floor above mine? When Soseki arrested on suspicion of attempted murder? Well, I garbled that. I suspected there's nothing connecting these two witnesses but happenstance. It doesn't seem as though they're unrelated at the first glance, but I'm not so sure. There's something lurking in the shadows here. I feel certain of it. Counsel, you may now cross-examine these two witnesses if you wish. Yes, my lord. It was 6 days ago, about 5 p.m., I was walking along the snow when I was suddenly stabbed in the back. That's correct. Coincidentally happened outside the house where women in case have their lodgings. I was at the tavern in the edge of Eve, which I'll speak of, as booked my supper. Hold it! I want information. Yeah, I'd like to know which tavern. It was the Slug in the Salad, where I did tarry. This is the Jewel of the East End. And a little unexpected, I feel. Isn't the Slug in the Salad the name for the Garadeb household? The Slug in the Salad offers usually fine dining for the locality, at least. Not an establishment you'd expect to be patronized by a man with not even a crumb of bread in his room. It's true. The menu lists premium crusts of bread and glasses of water, in different levels of cloudiness. I expect grubbery in the local vicinity to be more appropriate for your means. Watery soup and mushy peas. That's just gross. All equally appetizing. And by equally appetizing, I mean not all. I want to try some water in a different pub for once. What's wrong with that? How different can water really be? Dirty. There's a more plausible explanation. A specific reason why he had to go to that particular establishment. Agreed. Not on that day and all days, he dined at a place he wouldn't normally. It does stand out. Mr. Shamspear's own actions on the day in the accident 6 days ago were slightly suspicious. I wonder if we have some evidence that can explain those actions. I don't think we do, but I want to try. Alright, we do not have any evidence at the moment. I wish we did, but sadly, I can't think of anything at the moment. If we find a clue that we could explain why Mr. Chancellor went there, we must present it to the court. Absolutely. If that is all in the matter, Counsel, I would ask Miss Green to reiterate her next statement. It was the first time I've been in the area. I had a little matter to attend, that's all. Hold it! What little matter, Miss Green? Please elaborate. It was nothing really. It's not worth mentioning. You mentioned it to us yesterday at the hospital. Ah. It was related to the card you were holding. Miss Green. What was that? She clearly hid something behind her back. From the memory, I believe this card contained a note that read, I have information regarding the death of Duncan Ross. What does that matter? It has nothing to do with this Duncan.
Excuse me!
Mr. Shakespeare, do you have something to share with the court? To be or not to be? That is the question. Ah, pray forgive me. That is the great bard's word that springeth from within me, or ne'er forget. Don't tell me. It's because you're possessed by the Shakespeare spirit, right? Hearing Miss Green's words a moment ago seemed to make you think of something. Something of relevance, perhaps? Well... Nay, sire. 'Twas nothing at all. Presumably you know the name, though. Mr. Duncan Ross, I mean. After all, you were both lodgers in the same house. It would be sir, but sadly nay. Lodging be lonely occupation, sire. My lodging fellows be rarely known to me. So you haven't heard of him, even though he passed away in the room just one floor above yours? Miss Green? Me, my lord? Have I done something wrong? The card that was mentioned before, containing the note. Do you have it upon your person? I do, yes, but I don't need it anymore. In fact, I should throw it away, really. Before you dispose it, the court will take it as evidence, please. The information of... There's our contradiction. Of course. That's what links Mr. Chancery and Miss Green. It's Duncan Ross. Now, continue with your testimony, please, Miss Green. Anyway, I was admitted straight to the hospital, so I knew nothing about all this business. Then we pursued. We can definitely point out the suspicious things. Let's look at the note. The envelope has been ripped up rather than carelessly, hasn't it? The screen strikes me as the type of open corresponding more neatly than that. Ah, what is it? The way the envelope is torn. I'm almost sure I've seen that exact same shape somewhere else. Oh, you don't mean... Were you thinking of this piece of evidence, Mr. Naruto? Exactly, that's it. Try to match them up. They go together perfectly. The torn off envelope clearly belongs to this card. I think we continue pursuing here. Yes. Yeah, don't make me nauseous, Vine Zykes. Yep, I was right. We got the evidence we want. To Shakespeare. Yes, sire? On the day in question, is it not the case that you visited the Slug and Salad, a place you don't normally patronize? For a very particular reason? I don't know what you're talking about. Pray, if I have some purpose, speak! Very well. I will present the court with the evidence. Explains why you had to be at the Slug and Salad that day. Namely... Yep, I had a feeling it was one that was not his. This card reveals the answer. Good lord, Miss Green's card, you mean? That's right, my lord. It reads, I have information regarding the death of Duncan Roth. Come to the Slug and Salad on Briar Road at 5 p.m. on 17th. Don't tell anybody else about this letter or the meeting. It is a matter of utmost importance. Wait, wrong button. Mr. Chancellor, your actions on the afternoon of Miss Green's stabbing are exactly described in this note. Ah. Personally, I find it hard to believe that's a coincidence. Don't you, Mr. Shakespeare? Well... Excuse me. Can I say something? Yes, Miss Green. That card was delivered to me. It doesn't have anything to do with this odd man, does it? Well, you'd think so, yes. But it's hard to believe it's merely... My lord, may I? As you what, may what, Miss Green? I'd like to make something very clear about the card. Very well then. You may amend your testimony to include the details about the peculiar note. This note was delivered to me at my address. It has nothing to do with the odd man next to me here. I'm curious.
Objection!
The day before the incident, exactly 1 week ago now, this note was delivered to your address. And upon carrying out the instructions in the note, you found yourself in the hospital. Yes, I did. It's terrible, everything that happened to me. Yes, it is terrible. If it's all true, that is. What do you mean? Miss Green, have you look at this, please. It's a torn off end of the envelope. Oh, is it? And it so happens that it fits together perfectly with the envelope and the note you received. Where did you find that? In Mr. Shakespeare's room. What? In my room? Mr. Shakespeare, do you perhaps remember this note from somewhere? Well, your actions that afternoon followed the instructions in the note, to the letter. Come to the Slug and Salad on Briar Road at 5 p.m. on the 17th, and so exactly that's where you went. Let me ask you again, Mr. Shakespeare. You already knew about this note, didn't you? And you, Miss Green. What did I do? As this torn off end of the envelope proves, this note was originally in Mr. Shakespeare's room. So how is it that it came to be in your possession? I don't have the first idea. I'm a fledgling artist after all. There is only one explanation. You broke into Mr. Shakespeare's room and stole it! You did what? Sorry. That is what? You broke, I mean, they were in my room? What on earth do you want with me? It would seem that both witnesses need to testify again. Miss Green. Yes? Whilst you have the court's sympathy, I'm sure, for the suffering you have endured in recent events, anyone found to be given false testimony in a court of law will be duly punished. Please bear that in mind. Yes, I know. Very well then, witnesses, you will give your formal testimony again now. On subject of the curious analogy regarding the note Miss Green claims to have received. That was hard to say again. I do remember now. 'Twas a week ago, pre-adventure. Note was delivered on to me. On the day with hid, I did tarry a long hour at the 9th Slug Salad, yet nobody came. Thereafter, all on the evening I shared the company of a Japanese fellow, so I did not had vanished. I don't know what you mean. You think I stuck into his man's room, do you? Why would I? I can point out that villain here, and for all that torn off piece of the envelope, I don't know anything about it. You no claim to receive this letter, do you, Mr. Shakespeare? Faith, 'tis so, my lord. I would swear to have it set upon the table in my humble lodgings. Yet, 'tis clear to me now that since I returned from the tavern that night, I have no laid my eyes upon it. Well, that being the case, young lady, it would appear that your testimony was... A lie? Is that what you think? How unfair of you to think I'm the one lying. I beg your pardon? I'm just a fledgling artist, I said, and fledgling artists don't lie. The note was delivered to me at my address. Besides, we all know who the liar around here is. If that's true, Miss Green, how would you explain the facts? This part of the envelope was, without a question, found in Mr. Shakespeare's room. I don't see why I should explain. Sorry? I'm a fledgling artist. My job here is just to say what happened, that's all. It's your job to give the explanations and proofs. You, the fledgling lawyer. The fledgling will do his seriously? Come on! My learned friend's cosmic image is our only hope of learning the truth. Well, counsel? I'm ready, my lord. Very well then. The defense will now proceed with the cross-examination of the witnesses. Miss Green clearly did break into Mr. Shakespeare's room. There can only be no question about that. And that's how she acquired the note. Yes, two facts are starting to lead me to a possible explanation for all this. And it's not a pretty one. Twas a week ago, a pre-adventure note was delivered unto me. One day with Hizern, I did tarry along our slug of south, but nobody came. Thereafter, on the evening, I started the company of the Japanese fellow. Did I see the note had vanished? I don't know what you mean. You think I snuck into his main room, do you? Why would I? You're more like the villain here. But I torn off that piece of envelope. Don't know anything about it. Okay. I'm going to try to avoid story mode this time and try to take the fall if I do screw up. After this evening, I did share the company of the Japanese fellow.
Hold it!
I think we can start here. When exactly did you notice it had gone missing? Such idle thoughts never occurred in my mind. I'm busied with greater ideas. In other words, you didn't notice. Several days passed between your outing and tavern. Okay? Yes, it would appear that the note disappeared sometime between that interval. Such an ideal thoughts never occurred in my mind. I'm busied with greater ideas. And yet, during that time, Miss Green was comatose in the hospital, was she not? Clear then, she could not have been stealing things from Mr. Shakespeare's room. Ah, yes. Of course. It's all some sort of misunderstanding. Isn't it, prosecutor, sir? You have so far failed to give a satisfactory explanation to how you came by the note. Ah. I am not here to advocate for your defense, madam. I won't tolerate inconsistencies with your story. You would do well to remember that. Oh dear me. What's Lord Van Zyg's getting at? I don't know what you mean. I think I snuck into this man's room. Do you? Why would I?
Hold it!
It seemed that this note was actually delivered on Mr. Shakespeare about a week ago. Oh, does it? It ended up in your possession. I can't think of any way that could have happened, except for you breaking into Miss Shakespeare's lodging.
Objection!
But for what reason would the witness have done that? I won't deny that Miss Green's possessions of the note would appear to defy logic. However, until now, unless her involvement in this case can be proven some other way, any further pursuit of this note is meaningless. Miss Green could only have come to possession of the note by stealing it from Mr. Shakespeare's room. And yet, there's no obvious reason why she would have done such a thing. What if there was some other reason she broke into his lodgings, though? Yes, we should pursue that idea, Mr. Naruto. We're so close now. I can feel it. We're so close to breakthrough. Alright. I think I'm starting to see the picture as well. So you don't want to tell the court the truth about the letter. Is that it? I'm a fledgling artist. Remember? Artists are nearly always introverted characters. Introverted? Fie! This fledgling does really cast a perception about my nature. Yet I am an angel, a seraph. Birds do not harmonize with my song. The wind doth frolic with my wing. I think he said something about a seraph earlier. Ranged from something involving Shamesphere. Oh pity, whereof thou doth accuse one due pure of heart, ample woman? Purr of the heart? I don't think so. Even a fledgling like me can see you're just a failure. Tragedy! Thus thou shalt not talk of the true heart of an artist, until thine instruction thereafter by death. O days, O years, alas enlighten thee, thou must long in vain. Mr. Hodo, interject with some clever remarks. This is your chance to shine. I'm not Shakespearean actor, Mr. Sato. No, as far as I can tell, the only things that are going on to resolve this argument is evidence. Yes! It's clear that Miss Green did in fact break into Mr. Champspeare's room, isn't it? And that's where she found this letter. Yes, two more or less foregone conclusions that lead me to terrifying conclusion. Terrifying? Yes, I'm afraid to say that the outcome of this cross-examination may well change how we look at this case completely. Let's check the first two. Can you shed any light into the contents of the note, LL? Ah, nay, sire. 'Tis as strange to me as a forensic tongue. Even I know knowledge of literature as great as mine known. Verily, it is impenetrable. Mr. Duncan Ross had lodging in the same household as you. In effect, he was your neighbor. But surely you knew him, didn't you? Alack, if the choice is but twixt to knew him, I knew him not. And 'tis foreboding that I be forced to declare, we were some small measure acquainted. Despite your claims, though, he followed the note's instructions as went through the slug and salad. And that was nothing to do with your knowledge of the literature? Marry, naught will have better of me, sire, save for the leisure's curiosity. So 'tis true, I was compelled by mine own eager heart to brave take my theft to tavern, and yet the end, my curiosity was not satiated, I think. In the day, let's see the final press. So even after waiting for an hour, nobody appeared? Well, yes, sire. Just thought those I'll assist. Really? You paused for a moment there. In truth, when thou asked me if nobody appeared, I did suddenly recall. Really? Do you mean to tell the court that somebody did appear after all? I was not alone that night in the slug and salad, my lord. No, 'twas returning to me now. I did treat my lips to almost clear water, and mine innards of the premium crust on bread. Around me, dense grip of companions. What do you mean? Flies, sire, flies. Ah, great. Maggots as well. An invisible. Where were they? Fairies, perchance. By Midsummer's Night Dream. Come to taunt me? I think they were just flies. I can't help thinking that the flies ought to choose something more wholesome to buzz around. Is that wrong of me? Thereafter on the evening. Interesting. You can't go to the people. I'm thinking, wait, hold on. Slow acting poison, seeing the crime. trying to think again. It's clear Miss Green didn't break into Shamster's room, and that's the letter, okay? Yes, I'm afraid to say that the outcome of crossing the image might change how the case is completely. I want to try to see if this does anything.
Objection!
No, that didn't seem to work. Alright, let's read the first three again. I may have forgot that. On missing, such odd thoughts never come to my mind. I'm busy with great ideas. The words you notice. You're distracted. I want to hear what Miss Green had to say. Ah, yes. Yes, of course. It's also a misunderstanding. Isn't it Miss Carson's cuter? She's shielding on Von Zykes. Dear me. What is he getting at? I don't know what you mean. You think it's snuck into his man's room?
Hold it!
Why would you? Why would you? I can't think of any way it could have happened except for you breaking
Objection!
in. Then he objects. Why would he do that? I won't deny that Miss Green's possession of the note would defy logic. However, until her involvement in the case can be proven some other way. We know her involvement with Olive Green. I also assume that we could already cross out this evidence. This bottle should not be involved at all. Right now, since we currently... Even though this topic has to do with their relation with an envelope and why they encounter each other, I'm pretty sure this is the evidence we are looking for. These evidences aren't going to be necessary. I can take a look at this again. Here we have been poisoned. I want to try seeing if we get anything from this. Then we'll show us the contents inside that.
Objection!
No, that didn't work either. Number of ways. Perhaps it would serve you well to consider your efforts on one contradiction at a time, Council. I made a bit of a mess of that. A number of ways, actually. Okay, so probably is the fourth path. I'm not going to use story mode this time. I told myself I wasn't going to use story mode this time. Alright, she's...
Hold it!
Need to repress this again. Uh-huh. You point up the letter. End up in your possession.
Objection!
Why would he do that? Unless your involvement in the case can be proven some other way. There's clearly something I'm missing.
Hold it!
I can always remember. Yeah. Inversion 5. Okay, yeah. We don't need to hear about what he has to say. Sure, I probably don't think so. Even Fledging of me knows that. Actually, yeah. Green definitely has a grudge against Shakespeare. And I could try the poison. That's possible.
Objection!
I was right. And no story mode this time. You can see the store on the top right. I press the X, not the minus button. We started with the bottle. And those contents spilled during the course of our meeting. A small quantity remained. According to the defense's independent analysis, the Sholmes chemistry set, the liquid that was still in the bottle was identified. Strychnine. What? Strychnine? The same poison that afflicted Mr. Shakespeare? What? Miss Green, you broke into this man's lodgings. For one reason, and one reason alone. You covered the end of the pipe that feeds the gas lamp in Mr. Shakespeare's room with poison. Can this be? You broke into my room to... It may seem incredible to the court. But for some of the remaining clues, there is only one logical conclusion from which we can reach. The person who attempted to take Mr. Shakespeare's life with poison was you, Miss Olive Green. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dearie. Me! And she fainted. Order! Order! Counsel, are you seriously suggesting this woman put the poison into the end of the gas pipe with the intent to kill? Yes, my lord. There is no other way to explain the facts. But Miss Green did indeed set the audience trap 6 days ago, and the victim had put his mouth on the pipe that very evening the gas expected, the attempted murder would have happened 6 days ago, surely? Well, that's a very good point. Perhaps not, my lord. I beg your pardon? There was a significant police presence at the area that evening on account of the incident at Briar Road. Local residents were being interviewed throughout the night as part of the ongoing inquiry. Circumspect a criminal would likely have chosen not to carry out any wrongdoing at the time. Lord Van Zykes. And of course, the following morning, there was more activity at Shakespeare's address. More activity? Ah, yes. You met his fellow lodger, Mr. Natsume, being arrested on suspicion of murder. That's right. And his defense has already proposed. The Chancellor was meddling with the gas pipe for a very sinister reason himself, to cause the gas stove in Mr. Natsume's room to go out, thereby asphyxiating the occupant. But once Mr. Natsume had been arrested, his room was under constant surveillance by the police. In the circumstances, Mr. Shakespeare had no reason to blow air in the gas pipe. The intended victim being in a prison cell, with the need to tamper with the gas removed, the poison on the pipe lay dormant. And then, 3 days ago now, the situation changed again. Right! Mr. Natsume's trial, which took place here at the Old Bailey, came to an end. The trial in which the man stood accused of stabbing Miss Green in the back, but was duty quieted. That resulted in Mr. Natsume returning to his lodgings for the first time in 2 days. And that very night, his gas stove mysteriously went out, and Mr. Shakespeare was mysteriously poisoned. In conclusion, the poison that was present on the mouth of the gas pipe had been put there by the victim's room, found 4 days earlier. Alright, that went fast. He said Mary. Why? In that new understanding, it becomes clear that this letter was all part of a plan. What plan? The court will recall that the note gave instructions to visit the Slug and Cell at 5 o'clock, and the recipient should tell nobody else. The reason for those instructions are now clear. To ensure that the lodger would not be at home at the stated time. To make sure I wasn't home? Exactly. While you are out, Miss Green could safely slip into your room, knowing that she wouldn't be disturbed. You mean to say that letter was written by Miss Green, yes? In order to convert tract, she took it away from her when she left. Just after she smeared poison all over the mouth of the gas pipe in your room. Order, order! What do you have to say for yourself, witness? Just who are you? Why'd you try to kill me? Miss Green's motive should be obvious. It's all tied up with someone whose name we've heard several times already during the course of this trial. So, that is what's behind all this. You will share your apparent understanding with the court, please, the counsel. Which person behind this woman's motive for the attack on the victim's life?
Take that!
Duncan Ross. That's right. Before the defendant, Mr. Natsume, took up the residence in the lodging that Mr. Gaddabs, somebody else was renting the room. Duncan Ross. I knew I'd heard that name somewhere else. It was all over the papers a month ago, when the man died in strange circumstances in the haunted lodgings. That does ring a vague. Ah! Of course, yes! I remember now. That young man they claimed was strangled by the convict's curse, or some such. Sadly, my lord, it wasn't a curse of any kind, nor was it an accident. The man died as a result of Mr. Shakespeare's blowing into the gas pipe and causing gas to leak in the room. It was murder, plain and simple. Well, what do you know? The world is so unfair. Curses, couriers, deaths. That's all people care about. If it's an interesting story, they want to know. It doesn't cross their minds that real people are involved. And once they're bored, just 1 month later, once the story's lost its appeal, everyone's forgotten him. You mean it, you. Duncan was... Mr. Ross was Miss Green's fiancé. Fiancé? You may not have known until now who Miss Green really is, Mr. Shakespeare. But she'd known exactly who you are all along. Because you're her sworn enemy. The murderer who took the life of the man she was to marry. Marry?! Miss Green, is it not the case that in order to exact revenge on Mr. Shakespeare, smeared poison over the end of the glass pipe? This is all quite extraordinary. Am I correct in understanding that you are now accused both parties, counsel, each on different counts of murder? Yes, my lord, that is correct.
Objection!
Inhaling so deeply, it appears that my fledgling learned friend has taken a lungful of dubious gas that's causing him judgment to be clouded. Why in the world would Mr. Shakespeare have wanted to kill these lodgers, as you say? You have completely failed to provide a motive for substantiate your accusation against the man. Yes, that's right, Mr. Reaper, my liege! I have been slighted. That's lies, it's all lies, I have every utterance. And you'll have to forgive me, my Honour, sire. But I don't intend to admit to anything either. Miss Green, I'm sure you think I'm being very rude, but I'm not going to be sent to the gallows for the likes of this scoundrel.
Objection!
Because you broke into this man's room. If you didn't do it to smear poison on the pipe, what was your reason? I thought I'd have to look around, that's all. Sorry? You're right, I suspected him. So I thought perhaps I might find some evidence or something in his room. Evidence that it was him who took Duncan's life. Oh vileness, oh villainy, oh tyranny, oh rottenness of woman. But in any case, whenever I'd leave my room, you turned the key in the lock. That whole place is falling apart. The locks on the doors are no different. Duncan showed me how to unlock the door, with some terps and a piece of wire. Oh awfulness, oh artfulness, oh tyranny, oh profanity of woman. We will consider your trespassing on some future occasion, but for now, tell the court what you found, what evidence your search revealed. Well, I spotted the note that I'd sent him lying on the floor. When I picked it up, I noticed something. One of the floorboards was loose, and underneath it, I discovered a secret hiding place. Yes, we also discovered that hiding place. Inside we found a newspaper cutting, a photograph, and an empty tin box. Ah, yes. Well, the thing is, when I found it, the box wasn't empty. What? There was something in it? Yes. This rather nice key. Oh, someone's screaming! What are you doing with that? What the? Every ounce of color has drained from his face. Give it here! Give it to me now! It's mine! I inherited it! What was that, witness? Did you say you inherited it? No, what's all this about? He inherited that key. It was obviously important to you, since you'd gone to such lengths to hide it, so I took it. I don't know what it's for, but you took something precious from me, so I took something precious from you. So what if it means you can't open something now? I don't care. Give it back this minute! Give it to me! Claim yourself, witness. So Mr. Chancellor has tried, and one case succeeded, to take the life of 2 lodgers now. Yes, his motive for doing so is the key to everything that's happened. It's true that there appears to be no motive to support the accusation against Mr. Shamspeare at first, but considering everything we now know, I think there is actually something that could explain it. What? I need to recall every piece of evidence at our disposal, everything we've seen and heard. Because I'm sure this just caught a glimpse of the link that runs through all this evidence. In that case, counsel, I must demand that you present the evidence in the court in support of your claim. What is it that you can explain? The motivation for Mr. Chancellor's alleged crimes. Yep, I had a feeling that's it. Look at his flashy dress.
Take that!
That's an official police report, is it not? The Selden file. How'd you get hold of that? So Selden, now sadly deceased Mr. Ross, and the defendant Mr. Natsume, have only one thing in linking in them. The fact that they had lodgings in the same room. Well, yes, we know this, certainly. A room that was formerly occupied by Selden. Until that is, he was arrested by Scotland Yard for his involvement in multiple burglaries. I see. And it so happens that the convict Selden left behind one very substantial mystery when he died. The sum of £1,000 worth of loot that he stole. While the jet remains to be found... Ah, yes, of course. It's coming back to me now. It's right in this file here. £1,000 lost en route to hell. That was how the papers summed it up. And it seems that one particular fellow inmate was the convict of his final moments. It's not hard to imagine Selden entrusting that inmate with the most closely guarded secret, the location of the stolen loot, and perhaps a key to unlock whatever container valuables were in. You mean this key is... Mr. Shamspeare, it was you, wasn't it? You were at the capital offender's side when he died, weren't you not? What are you talking about? It's false charge, I tell you! False charge! The name of the inmate who was with Selden at his death isn't noted in the file. A simple telegram of the prison where he died will quickly tell us who false the charge really is. But even if it's true, why would the man be so intent on killing every subsequent occupant in his convict's lodgings? There's only one explanation for that, my lord. It was in that very room that Selden hid his loot! So, it all comes out. Yes, and in having established that, all of Mr. Shamspeare's subsequent actions start to make sense. When he was let out of the prison following Selden's death, he made immediately for Mr. Garrett's lodgings in the hope of renting Selden's old room. However, the retired army man was unable to offer him the accommodation of his choice, because Selden's old room had already been let to someone else, Mr. Duncan Ross. Which is why Mr. Shamspeare subsequently devised his gas-placed plot to kill the occupant of the room. And when he was successful, he presumably intended to inquire about switching the newly vacant room. However, a certain jittery someone had beaten him to it. Miss Soseki Natsume, the defendant of this case no less. So you decided to use that ploy with the gas again, didn't you, Mr. Shamspeare? This time to out Mr. Natsume. All this for one simple and avaricious reason. To get your hands on the £1,000 of loot you left behind the seat of the dead convict. Ah! Looks like I'm going to snuff it before they get to stretch me neck. Listen, I want you to have me loot anything to stop the coppers getting their mitts on it. It's hidden in the room where I was lodging when they got me. This is the key to it. Take it. Always stay on one step ahead, mate. See you in hell, I guess. Shakespeare. It's mine. What'd you say? It's mine. That loot is mine. Mr. Shamsphere? It's all lies. I don't accept any of it. Why should I? After all, you don't have a shred of evidence. You can't prove I killed that fellow. Fourth, I'm the victim here, remember? Isn't that right, ladies and gentlemen? If I don't admit it to it, there's nothing you can do. You can't arrest me, for the time being, anyway. Early, you can't arrest a victim, can you? Isn't that right, ladies and gentlemen? I'm so close, just needs a few more hours. I swore to myself that I'd get my hands on it, and I can almost taste it now. Do you really think to give up? There's no question in my mind now. This man's guilty through and through. He seems so utterly intoxicated by the idea of that loot. I'm afraid that however hard you press him, he'll never admit to what he's done, Mr. Naruto. There is a way. Pardon? There's one way I can punish him. He's already committed to most heinous crimes to get his hands on that loot. Which means all we need to do is find it first. A fine plan. If it were not for the fact that the police thoroughly searched this room for the following death of Mr. Ross, if it's there at all, it must be very well hidden indeed. Without conclusive evidence, I certainly cannot rule. If only there was some way we could find that convict's loot quickly. This is the final piece in this complex puzzle, but I think we might have it in our possession already. Or rather, I think we may as well have something that can help us find where the loot is hidden. My lord? Yes, counsel? I want to testify that theory. Oh no, dear God. Don't actually tell me. The defense would like to make a proposal about how to find the late convict's hidden loot. I believe we are already in possession of something that could give us a clue to where it's about. It's our last chance. It has to be worth a gamble. Besides, we've used the same technique once already, and it got definitely paid off then. Very well then, counsel. Let the court hear your idea. What do you think we can use in order to locate the hiding place of the deceased convict's hall? Perhaps something with a lock behind it.
Take that!
This is a proposal, my lord. Good gracious, we can use that, can we?
Objection!
I have another idea. Stop wasting the court's time with this senseless rubbish. Oh, that's not good. That's my proposal, my Benet's friend. His proposal was better. We've already found one secret hiding place during the Corps of Investigations in Nahoda. Yes, I suppose we have, though someone else had beat us to it. The findings from that method we used are still in the court record, however, aren't they? I believe it's worth proposing the same method again now. Oh god, you're not referring to... this, are you?
Take that!
If I'm not mistaken, those are Mr. Shamspeare's handprints on the wall of the lodgings. That's right, my lord. Exposed as a result of the defense's independent investigation of the scene. This based on the wonderful news discovery on the field of forensic science by the great detective, Mr. Sholmes. A great detective? Is that some kind of joke? Do you really think I'm going to be daunted by a man with such a ridiculous title? I should think the great bard ought to recognize such a title when he odds to hear one, Mr. Shamspeare. Perhaps we should compete for the honor of the most ridiculous title. Oh, Sholmes! Ah! That's Herlock Sholmes himself! What are you doing here, great detective? Your usual haunts are the filthy back streets of the capital, are they not? Mr. Reaper, it's been too long. I see your complexion has worsened since we last met. Mr. Sholmes? Does he know Milord Van Zykes then? Well enough to say something like that in any case. Mr. Sholmes, though you may be heralded as a great detective by the population at large, that does not give you the right to come and go in my courtroom as you see fit. If I may, my lord, Mr. Sholmes' newly developed scientific method has helped us uncover vital clues to the case already. Clues, you say? Come sting prints, my lord. That's to identify every location touched by the individual under scrutiny. It's a method by which we were able to discern this gentleman's gas pipe activities. You need only a small sample of something an individual has previously touched to make an indicator solution. In your case, sir, I used the teacup you had been holding. Elementary. And now, Mr. Nahodo? Yeah, yes? Why am I to use you as a sample to make of the indicator solution this time? Thank you for offering the help, Mr. Sholmes. When the convict was arrested, he was living in what was Soseki-sen's room. We need a sample to help locate Selden's loot that... Well... Selden's loot that will help... that's in his old room. What form the sample we should take? We can't present a corpse now, can we? Alright, it is present a person. We will need something of Selden's in order to create the indicator solution for his loot. And something in the convict own happens to be in the possession of someone listed in the court record. Upon my word, Mr. Nahodo, your powers of reasoning appear to be on up. So, which particular person do you have in your mind? From who can we obtain the possession of the late convict Selden to create the indicator solution? Maybe Mr. Garadeb? I don't know. Okay, they're pointing at him. Nope. Are they actually going for Mr. Natsume?
Take that!
No, they're going for Olive Green for some reason. Miss Green. Miss me? What do you want with me? Oh, of course, the key. The key around your neck. If you please. Sorry? That key belonged to Selden. There will be remnants of the secret shading to find the main skin on the surface which we can reuse. Very true. That is the sample we need. Using it, we can create the indicator solution required for Mr. Sholmes' skin print seeker. And find out exactly what Selden touched in the room that he used to print. Ah! Mr. Shamspeare, as one of the great to another, I assure you, if the late convict's haul is hidden somewhere in this from his lodgings, I shall uncover it in no more than 30 minutes. So, Mr. Shamspeare, the truth is well within our grasp now, and as such, you will never get your hands on Selden's stolen wealth. In that case, I'll gladly let Mr. Sholmes have this key. No! Give the key to me! Detective Chase have it! It's over, Mr. Shamspeare. No! No! You're out of options now. There's only one thing left for you to do. Admit your guilt. Whoa! Oh, shameful spear! Despair! Be my thy name! Seems like we broke him. I never intended to kill the man. I just wanted to drive him out of the room. That's all. So you'd have time to find a convict's haul and stolen goods? Yet after you'd killed the young man, you still didn't move into that room. I asked the landlord, of course. I pleaded with him, but he refused. I was 3 months behind with the rent, for one thing. Mr. Garadeb really has a lot to put up with. And he had the gas repair work done immediately afterwards, putting in the room of my action for a while. And then, this Japanese man swooped in at just the right moment to sign a new lease. Poor Mr. Natsume. What unfortunate timing. Then, 5 days ago, after the incident on Briar Road, when the Japanese fellow got himself arrested, I thought I'd finally have my chance. But it wasn't to be. No, the scene was sealed off and guarded by the police night and day. And, if I remember tightly, Mr. Sholmes spent the whole day in there reading books. I couldn't even enter the room, let alone search for the loot. Which is why, on the day Mr. Natsume was acquitted and returned to his room, he once again tried the trick to blowing air into the pipe that feeds the stone in his room. Unbeknownst to you, however, that action would lead you into a deadly trap. William Shakespeare. How did it go? To be or not to be, that is the question. From Shakespeare's Hamlet, Act 3, Scene 1. Well, let me tell you, in your case, it's not to be. That is the answer. You deserve to die for what you've done. At first, I really did think it was just a terrible accident. I'll never forget our conversation the night before Duncan died. The gas supply in my new lodgings are a complete disaster, you know, Olive. The gas supply? Yes, the stove always seems to go out in the middle of the night for some reason. That's no joke. They say it's the convict's curse. Oh, Duncan, please, don't stay there. I don't care how cheap it is. Alright then, if it's that important to you, I'll start looking for a new place. There are spare rooms at my house. Why don't you leave that horrible room tonight? No, I'll better not. They would wait until we graduated before we told our parents, remember? But that was the last time we ever spoke. That very night, he fell victim to the gas. If only I'd known it was going to happen, I'd have insisted he left that horrible room that instant. But instead, all I've been left with is bitter regret. I stopped going to school, but something kept drawing me back to the house at Briar Road. I saw a stooped Eastern-looking man with a mustache coming out of the house one day I was there. He walked up road grubbery for some food, and I followed him. I sat myself down next to him. He had some watery-looking soup, and started to pick at a quarrel with the publican. This place is cursed, I tell you! Cursed! The ghost of that convict who used to live there, trying to suffocate me! I wake up in the middle of the night, freezing to death because of that stove has gone out. The room was full of gas, and I can hardly breathe. Those pipes have been checked, no problem there. It's like, I'm the problem! That's what they're thinking. But how could that be? Duncan was gone, and now this man has almost suffered the same fate? Could it really be a curse? Then I remembered. A rumor I'd heard about how gas companies go around investigating the gas installations. A rumor? Ah, you mean... Yes, everybody's heard the stories, it seems, about how they go around checking for pipes. How anything connected to the gas can be extinguished by blowing air into the pipework. That's when I started. A little flicker of doubt in the back of my mind. That just wouldn't go away. Was there really an accident, though? Once I'd had the idea, it was leave me alone. It plagued me day and night. I bought this at one of the black markets in the East End. A black market? I'd never been. just heard people talk about them, and you really can buy anything you can think of there. In some ways, being able to get my hands on this so easily made me even more determined. I had to find out, one way or another, was Duncan's death an accident, or was it a murder? And your Cho's method for establishing the truth was simple, but highly effective. Smear poison on the gas pipe you suspected the man was tampering with, and wait. If Shamster wasn't innocent, nothing would come to of what you'd done. But if he was guilty, he would pay for his crimes dearly. I found out the name of the man I suspected, William Shamsphere, and then I wrote him this little note. I have information regarding the death of Duncan Ross. Come to the Salug and sell it on Briar Road at 5 p.m. on the 17th. Don't tell anybody else about this letter or the meeting. It is a matter of utmost importance. If he'd done it, I knew that I'd worried him enough so he'd be sure to go. So I waited to see if it worked. And of course, Mr. Shamsphere followed the instructions of the letter. I worked out where the gas pipe was, and straight away, I smeared a good amount of the poison I'd bought, all around the mouth of the pipe, all the time praying that the devil's work would be done, and that was all just some wild fantasy. Actually, no. All the time praying that the devil's work would be done, and that the culprit would get his just desserts. "3 days ago, when you were first stood in the dock before me, this whole affair seemed relatively straightforward. Yes, my lord. I certainly never imagined the depth of the depravity that we should subsequently find lurking behind the scenes. It has been a long road, my Nipponese friend. Yes. And one I certainly did investigate walking with you. Nevertheless, together we have reached the light and the end of the tunnel, as it were. Miss Green. Yes, my lord? You will henceforth be stripped of your freedom, as punishment for the attempted murder of Mr. William Shamsphere. Yes, I know. And you, Mr. Shamsphere, you will be tried for the murder of Mr. Duncan Ross in cold blood, and the subsequent attempted murder of Mr. Soseki Natsume here at present. Mr. Nahoda? Yes? Yesterday, at the hospital, when you and your friends stopped me from ending your life by drinking what was left in the poison bottle, I wasn't myself. I can't even really remember what I was going through my mind. To be or not to be, I suppose. That's all question so hard to answer, it seems. Well, personally, I'm glad you're being here, Miss Green. Oh, and I'd like you to believe that it's a blessing Mr. Shamsphere didn't die when he investigated the poison. For your sake, at the very least. Because of you, I chose life, not death. And now you've made the truth come out at last. Really, I can't thank you enough. Oh, Miss Green. Mr. Soseki Natsume. Yes, my lord? The court declares that you are exonerated from all blame in this matter. Accordingly, I will call upon the ladies and gentlemen of the jury to present a verdict not guilty. We are in full agreement, my lord. And in that case, I hereby declare the defendant... Court is adjourned. 23rd of February, 3:24 p.m., the Old Bailey, defendant's chamber. Oh, antechamber. Oh, yes! Yes! At last! Divine justice duly done! Divine justice? My dear fellow, if there were any divine justice in this world, you would shave that mustache. Oh no! This has nothing to do with my mustache! Some say that a luxuriant mustache is a sign of physical powers, Mr. Sholmes. Welcome to Mr. Naruto Squire. But once again, you saved me from doom! I've been happy to help, Mr. Natsume. Congratulations on your acquittal. Your second in almost many days. I was first acquainted with you and your gained affection for English literature with a great homeland empire. And then, by twist of fate, I was brought to the land of Aurora, the fruit of literature. Only, the city of bricks and mortar became my prison. Try as I might, I never found my feet here. At the end, I confined myself to my room, and lived my life through friendly old books. You've had such difficulty time, haven't you? Ah, but it's a week ago now. I dragged you out of that dark and dingy room of yours, did I not? You did, and I've seen more life in this week than of all my years to date. And for the first time, I feel like I've begun to see the true forest of the English, so far behind the wall of fog. My dear fellow, there is nothing special about the true face of the English as you put it. Whereas if you go into the world, humans are human. There are a few genuine differences. Yes, I think you're right. I finally started to see that, and I've come to understand something. I've worked out why I was attracted to English literature in the first place. It made me see that whatever our nationality, we humans all have the same hopes and fears. We're all just doing our best to live. Well said. I've come to feel the same way. I have made a decision, too. I'm going to cut short my study tour here and return to Japan. Just when we'd become friends here in England. What a terrible shame. Oh, I know, that does tug my heartstrings. It really does. But I've decided I'd like to take everything I'd learned here in Britain and write something of my own. Novel of sorts, I suppose. My, you'll be creating your own literature, Mr. Natsume. How wonderful! Oh, well, no. I mean, you wouldn't presume at all to call it literature. Why not? Well, that is precisely the definition, Mr. Mustache. I suppose you're right. I guess. I will, in a way, be literature. But now, I know that I'd like to try my hand at writing. I have no delusions of grandeur. For one, I'd love to read your work. Well, all things considered, it may be for the best. After all, you have once again emerged victorious. From a battle with the Reaper. That's very true. And there is no salvation for a person in the dock when the Reaper is at the prosecutor. The desire to return post-haste the perceived safety of your homeland is, I quite understand. My goodness, yes. Faced with such a terrifying prospect. Nobody would consider you that cowardly, I'm quite sure. But that's not why I'm leaving. I meant it. And that was the case we had found ourselves embroiled 6 months ago now. Soseki did indeed return to Japan, and submit a report about both cases to the government. It was on reading that your report that Professor Mikataba was prompted to visit his scholar. And barely any time later, Tasato was given the news that she must return to Japan as well. On the back of the telegram stating, falsely, her father had fallen gravely ill. Only the possible explanation that comes to mind is what happened after the trial. On the following day, the day we were uncovered the loot, hidden by now deceased convict in his former lodgings. Alright, the February of 24th. Let's see. Oh, well done, Mr. Sholmes. How simply marvelous of you. To uncover a secret hiding place one day. Wasn't it supposed to take 30 minutes? I believe I told you, my dear fellows. Skin prints are extremely useful in such situations. Wouldn't you agree, Gregson? I'm eating her! Gregsy's been happy munching in agreement, so this whole time, you know, Hurley. Happily, I think perhaps humorously might be closer. Or aggressive. Transpired the man fashioned hiding a place in ceiling. What's in it? What exactly is the loot? Let's look in then. If you're ready, let's examine the late burglar's hall. What the? What is that? It looks to be some sort of neckband. Or collar. A collar? It's huge though! And look, the gemstones in it. You can see why it's claimed to be worth 1,000 pounds. Perhaps I could have it as a belt. Oh, have you noticed in the inside there? There are some dark stains. That looks blood. You don't think they could be blood, do you? I mean, there's quite a lot of it. On second thought, perhaps I won't have it as a belt. Then, of course, there's this emblem here. A large letter B and a small crown. What does it signify, you think? Oh, I hadn't noticed that. I feel as though I've seen that emblem somewhere before. Do you know where it could have been? That's enough of that, I think. What? What's the matter with Sholmes? All the color has drained from his face. Well, Inspector, I believe that you ought to be taking this, wouldn't you? It should be valuable evidence, after all. It must be kept safely under lock and key. Ah, yes. Get your grubby hands off that, you lot! And hand it over, now! I'd never seen a collar that large before, and all those jewels certainly looked to be extremely valuable. But that's not what stood out most to me. At least, not once I'd noticed it. Those dark marks on the inside of the collar. Those stains. Could they really have been blood? Well, that was a funny case, wasn't it? But it's all buttoned up now. And you look very pleased, Iris. I am, because I was starting to wonder what I could use the basis of this month's story on, man. But this case would be perfect. It's so fascinating. You're talking about the latest installment of the Adventures of Herlock Sholmes, I presume. The mystery of the knife in the mist, and the mustached man in the convict's curse, perhaps? I could make two-part story. Oh, I can't wait. A word please, Iris. Yes? What is it, Harley? I'm sorry. But you can't write about this case. It's out of question. What? Why not? It's a great case. Then I shall have to insist that you limit yourself to the first of the two titles. The second must never be written. Is that clear? Yes.
And so it was that the second of Soseki-san's cases became buried in obscurity. Now, looking back, I feel I understand. I can see why Mr. Sholmes forbade Iris from publishing the story. It would take a little longer before I saw the link between everything that had happened and would happen. For it wasn't until 2 months after the arrival of Susato-san's letter that events began to unfurl again, with an incident that took place at the very heart of the eagerly awaited Great Exhibition of London.